Hello, everyone, and welcome to Love in Action. I am so happy to see you all here at the culmination of a journey of compassion-centered, nonviolent activism and musical expression, all of which started quite a while ago. It began as the recording of this beautiful bhajan with some treasured musical friends, and it's become a really deeply inspiring communal inquiry into how we can most powerfully offer our love and service to this world, especially in this chapter that feels as deeply challenging as any in our lifetimes. Guided by the many exceptional souls in myriad disciplines who joined us for what was called the 30 Days of Love in Action online initiative late last year, we were inspired to dig in at least a little bit deeper to find just how it is we might be of service to humanity and indeed to all beings with whom we share our earth home. Heather and I are incredibly honored to have today's presenters with us, either live or in some cases by video, to help us extend this journey into love and action even further. I especially want to thank Dr. Veena Howard, the director of Fresno State University's MK Gandhi Center, Inner Peace and Sarvodaya, for her kindness, support, patience, and guidance in helping us to craft this symposium. This kind of effort is certainly new territory for Heather and for me, and her insights have been invaluable in making all of this possible. So we're going to be hearing from a number of presenters today, including some video messages from incredible friends who couldn't join us in real time. We invite you to put your questions into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen for discussion later in the program. And we're going to be closing today's presentation with the world premiere of the music video of our newest release with Jai Uttal and the Grammy-winning ensemble Opium Moon, titled Kara Bhajo. So without further ado, I'd like to share a video to introduce the work and history of Maher Ashram in India. A trigger warning for this video. It discusses domestic violence and could trigger a trauma response for some people. Sister Lucy Curian started Maher Ashram under tragic circumstances decades ago, and Maher has now helped thousands and thousands of victims of domestic violence and extreme poverty all across India. After this video, our first presenters, Maher's president, Ms. Hirabegum Mulla, and their youth coordinator, Mangesh Pol, will share what Maher is doing now to put their love into action. Thank you all so much for being here.
I'm a Catholic nun and I come from Kerala. So after I became a nun, I came to north of India, and I used to see the condition of women, and I used to wonder why it is like that, because I'm coming originally from Kerala. So Kerala, the situation is different. So it was really shocking for me when I came to north of India. I really thought, I will be able to do a lot, something for the poor people. And that was my idea of becoming a nun. And then when I became a nun, mostly I was put in the different houses where my life was not touching the poor so much as that. There were, but not directly. But there was a particular time, it was somewhere in 1991, a woman had come to me asking for shelter. And she told me that her husband is threatening to kill her because he was in love with another woman. She told me, sometimes he becomes very violent and he can do anything to her, and she needed immediate shelter. So I was wondering how to help her out. Living within a community, it was not possible. And also that sister, one who was in charge of the project, was not there that night. And I told her, you come back, because meanwhile I thought I will ask some of my friends if they can help her. But what happened was that very night, her husband, he poured kerosene oil on her and set her on fire.
Platform number 8 first. Your attention please. Train number 1.
By the time, I also heard the shouting, yelling, not knowing what was happening. I went there and I realized it was the same woman who had asked me for shelter. When I reached her to the hospital, doctor told me that she is already 90% burnt. Then I asked doctor if anything can be done to save the baby because she was 7 months pregnant. And when doctor took her to the theater, what we got in her hand was a fully burnt baby, or fully cooked baby, I can say it. And I was so desperate because, you can imagine this woman who had come to me to ask for shelter. It was not possible for me to give her. And then here she is now finished. I was so angry with myself for not helping her on time. But at the same time, I was wondering what I will do. Living with this pain all the time. So I went for counseling to one of the priests whom I knew, that is Father Francis Disa. And he told me, Lucy, wait, instead of running away and hiding yourself from the real problem, go out and do something for this type of women. At that time, absolutely I had no idea what I'm going to do.
I'd like to invite Hiramam and Mangesh to come live with us and give us a quick update on what's going on with Maher now. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for giving us opportunity to share about Maher. We are very, very grateful to each and every one of you. So Maher means mother's home. And in Maher, anyone who needs shelter, always welcome to Maher. That means there is always room for one more. Love is the religion of Maher, and humanity is a basic foundation of our work. Here, no caste, no creed, no any religion, no any different in the colors. Everyone is equal in Maher. We are celebrating all the festivals in Maher. We are having common prayers, addressing to the divine. We are having yoga, meditation. Whenever we are having big programs, we are having readings from all the holy books like Bible, Quran, Bhagavad Gita, Indian Constitution, and other holy books also. We are practicing interfaith aspect in our daily life. that is very, very important. So at present, we are working in 7 states of India: Maharashtra, Jharkhand, Kerala, Bihar, Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal, and Karnataka. So we are having 73 homes. In 22 homes, we are having women, and in 10 homes, we are having men, and in 41 homes, we are having children. So till now, more than 6,000 women came here, stayed here, and went back in the society. And at present, there are more than 700 women are there. And also, till now, nearly 1,726 men are gone back in the society. At present, more than 500 men are with us. And more than 5,000 children came in Maher, stayed in Maher, went back in the society. And now at present, more than 1,200 children are with us. So we are working 25 different projects. So there are like a Mamta Dham, Kishore Dham, and we are having lots of village work also in the slums, beggars community, tribal villages, like where there is a need. Maher always tried to be with the people and tried to help them out. So love is the religion of Maher, and humanity is a basic foundation of Maher. That is very, very important. Until now, more than 370 awards Maher got it. In 2016, Sister Lucy got Nari Shakti Puraskar through the Indian government. And there are many books written on Maher, like in English, in Marathi, in Hindi, in Malayalam, in Italian, and in German language also. So like, and there is one movie is made by Austrian people. So that movie's name is A Sister's Heart. So, and we are having like the women, they are not only like a destitute women, they are, because of all the situation, they are becoming like mentally sick. Senior citizens women are there, unmarried mothers are there, and the people, the women, like mentally challenged women are also with us. So when they are coming, Maher is trying to give them shelter and trying to, when they are okay, so trying to put them back with the families. Means we are trying to reunite the family. So, but sometimes when they are unable to go back, so then we are trying to give them many different types of training, making them independent. So, and when they are able to stay back themselves in the society, so Maher is helping them. Till now, nearly more than 312 women got married from Maher. And we are having many, what we can say, girls and men got married from Maher. Like grannies also, girls also, women also, because everybody needs partnership. Everybody needs somebody who can help them out. So who can be with them to listen, give the listening ear to them. So like that way, and when they are getting married also, after the marriage, for the delivery and for all other ceremony also, like other daughters, we are bringing our girls also our homes, and we are, when they are going back in the society also, we are keeping the follow-ups with them. So then they are feeling, so that is their own home, that feeling should be there. So, and till now, more than 2,000 youths, they are got different types of trainings, and they are independent with their families. And we are giving in the villages also different trainings, like beauty parlor, then jewelry making. Then, yeah, according to the villagers' need, we are having many different programs in the villages: computer training, stitching training. We will see what is needed in the village, and according to that, we are trying to give them trainings. So nearly more than 10,000 women, they came here, they took the training, and we are going to the villages and giving in the villages, like village to village. We will go, because in the India, in rural villages, they are not sending their women out of the house to go in the cities for the training. So Maher, what is doing? Maher itself, we are putting our trainers, we are putting our teachers there, and we are trying to give them trainings. So like that way, Maher's work is very big. So if yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much for giving us opportunity.
And yeah, thank you so much, Hiraman. And very briefly, I just wanted to mention Mangesh Pol, who grew up in the ashram, as I understand, is also here with us. We have a limited time today, but perhaps if you could just speak to us for a minute about your experience in Maher, Mangesh. Thank you so much for being here after, 12 hours of travel to join us today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Mangesh will.
Namaste, Jai Bhim. My name is Mangesh Pol from Pune, India. I'm very happy and I'm very grateful that I got a home called Maher. When I was 6, on the street of slum in Pune, and Sister Lucy, I call her my angel, she came into my life and she took me to Maher. And first thing what I felt is I got love. And why I'm saying that, because I born in an untouchable family, and people and the system is not that good. So I was struggling for the food, struggling for the education, and Maher gave me each and everything, from morning to night, every single thing. And what I felt is, now I finished my MBA, and I am traveling to US, I'm traveling to Europe. I got a President Award, but I feel this is not important for me about the President Award, or I went to US or Europe. It's important, but I felt like the people who supported me, people who loved me, that's what I can do it. The child who never thought he will go to school or he will do good in his life, now doing so many things for the other people and trying to help the communities, because I got love. And always I felt when I came to Maher, the love is my religion, because in every religion there is love, but love has no religion. And I felt that I got in Maher, and now I'm trying to work for the youth, trying to work for the women and men and the children from all around the world. And I'm really grateful for Maher, Sister Lucy, who is the founder director, and the people like who supported me. And please do help Maher. Thank you.
I want to take a moment now to introduce somebody without whom this wouldn't be possible, our friend, Dr. Veena Howard. She's a distinguished scholar, author, and speaker specializing in nonviolence, Gandhian philosophy, and Indian religious traditions. She's professor of Asian religious traditions in the Department of Philosophy at Cal State University, Fresno. She also holds the endowed chair in Jain and Hindu Dharma. In addition to that, she's the coordinator of the Peace and Conflict Studies program, and she's also served in many board capacities, including on the board of trustees of the Parliament of the World's Religions. Veena, thank you so much for everything, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. So I want to first, everyone, whoever is on this call, I just want to thank Benjy and Heather for their dedication and care. Literally, it takes a lot of love force to do what you did, and we only know behind the scenes what has gone on. So thank you so much. You really embody love in action. If it looks like you too. And also, I met Sister Lucy last year when I was in India on my Fulbright, and the work she and her team, Hirabegum and Mangesh and everyone is doing, just I witnessed that. So thank you all. So I love the theme of today's symposium because that's my field of study as well. So I'm really thinking about my students when I'm answering this question. How does love in action look like? Well, we all have a sense of romantic love, yeah, family love, parental love, love for nation, devotional love. We are celebrating Easter, and neighborly love. But the phrase love in action can feel elusive. What do phrases like the power of love or the force of love mean when we are talking about mobilizing people to act? And here is to act for positive actions, not negative, because love is always positive in this sense. Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend James Lawson, Rosa Parks, Dolores Huerta, and many leaders of nonviolent struggle, and not only just leaders, the millions of people each day. And I think we forget that their photos will never flash on the screens, who do good work and really dedicate themselves. So, love in action means confronting hate with creative and compassionate resistance to injustice. So, that's my definition. Love in action means confronting hate with creative and compassionate resistance to injustice. So, love force is not passive, it is an active force, one that seeks to meet untruth with truth, hate with love, and violence with disciplined, nonviolent, and imaginative action. But why show love for those who hurt you? That's what I've been asked many, many times. This is a difficult and perennial question. We show love because we love love, because we do like love. That's why we show love. We use nonviolence because we despise violence that ends up causing pain to both the inflicted and the inflictor. We forgive because we love ourselves and want to live in peace. And we extend kindness toward the wrongdoer because we believe that kindness is the only way for the humankind. There is a reason we are called the humankind, because we are supposed to be kind, but we forget this completely. So, a couple of examples that help illustrate this. So, when Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat while riding in a bus, and she defied the racist law of treating African Americans inhumanely, that resistance was love in action. Let me take you to Nashville, Tennessee in 1960. The laws of segregation in the US South were enforced through law and custom. Even while the nation claimed constitutional commitments to liberty and equality, African Americans were barred from white only lunch counters and dining spaces. They were denied basic services. They were humiliated by policies designed to make ordinary life, eating, shopping, trying on clothes, using public facilities, an arena of exclusion and shame. And that was not long ago. And we have our own forms of racism even today. How should you feel if you were a young African American person in that world? Anger, hatred, and retaliation are valid and understandable responses toward those responsible for such injustices. But civil rights leaders like Dr. King, Rosa Parks, Reverend Lawson, and their associates chose a different path. They insisted on responding with love and humanity, even toward the evildoer. Fight with the force of love. So difficult, but we see the examples. When it happens, Dr. King calls it a beloved community is formed out of that. Marcus Aurelius, the 2nd century Roman emperor, wrote that the best way to respond to an enemy is to refuse to mirror their behavior. Not tit for tat, but do not mirror that. I want to be opposite of you, what you're doing, because I don't like what you're doing. To answer what is wrong with what is right. So in Nashville, a young, charismatic, and defiant pastor, Reverend Lawson, and I had the great privilege to spend time with him, interview him, and before he passed away a couple of years ago when he was 95 years young. So he exuded love in action. This man exuded what love means. So he trained a small group of students from nearby colleges for sit-ins. They were prepared to challenge hateful and inhumane laws that discriminated against African Americans, not through hatred, but through love in action. And they didn't even have back their hashtag love in action, but they were doing all that without that language. So, a group of well dressed African American students, joined by some white allies, alliances are very important. We all have to come together in this. Sat down at segregated lunch counters. They were denied service. They returned the next day and the next day. Merchants shut down lunch counters. Some students were beaten, some were arrested, but more students came to take their place. So I share with you to how it strategically works. It's not a one-time doing every week, every month. It is a consistent, persistent effort. Lawson trained them to not hit back, to remain as calm as possible, not to use angry or hateful speech, even when they were provoked. Their disciplined behavior drew national attention. The illogic of segregation was exposed. Violence against African Americans was increasingly condemned. And slowly, white-only signs began to come down. It chokes me even today. We won't be here without their sacrifices. This is what love in action looks like. It resists injustice without becoming the injustice it opposes. It refuses to let hatred set the terms of the struggle. It refuses to let hatred set the terms of the struggle. And then we know what happens. Then we have a Civil Rights Act of 1964, and the desegregation begins to happen. So many leaders of the civil rights movement describe their method as love in action, and literally love in action, rooted in Jesus's ethic of love and also inspired by Gandhi's nonviolent struggles against colonialism. More than 30 years earlier than 1960, right? So now we are taking to 1930, Mahatma Gandhi mobilized people against the British salt tax. Salt was not a luxury. It was a basic necessity, especially for the poor who had very little. Sometimes they ate only salt and roti. Sister Hirabegum will know that we don't have sometimes enough, just roti and salt you can eat, right? But what was going on? The poor person could not afford salt. So Gandhi, along with thousands of others, marched to the sea. And at the end of the march, he picked up a pinch of salt just from the beach, right? They picked up his pinch of salt, and along with, he broke an oppressive law and exposed its moral absurdity. Love in action relies on people power, collective people power, not the force of weapons. Gandhi called nonviolence a superior weapon, one that can transform both the oppressed and the oppressor. We want to change the mind of those who are oppressing. Lawson often quoted the Gospel of Matthew. Since it's the Easter weekend, I want to end with that. You have heard that it had been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. In those verses, the question is unavoidable. What do you do when you have an enemy? When you see the enemy, you pray for them, you love them. This is Reverend Lawson, but not love their actions, what they're doing. So I think that people misunderstand that, oh, love then hug. This is not, this is love in action. You want to show them what is wrong. But love in action is not surrender. It is resist oppression, indignity, and violence without using the means of the oppressor. It uses the force of love, compassion, courage, discipline, forgiveness, and yes, resistance. collective resistance to disrupt the cycle of hatred and division. So, as I study this topic, this is the heart of love in action. Love in action is not simply a feeling, it is a practice. It is a daily practice, it's an every moment practice. It is a refusal to let injustice dictate who you become. It is a commitment to fight what is wrong while holding on to what is human. Thank you so much. Now it's my honor to introduce my very own student, Morgan Poulter. It's really nice as a professor to introduce your own student. She is a brilliant student. She is taking my class, a seminar, Philosophy and Healing. And she and I have presented at Oxford Animal Ethics Summer School together. As an undergraduate, she went with me to present at this summer school symposium. So and she's a double major, psychology and philosophy. Morgan, I welcome you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Howard, and thank you, Heather and Benjy, for having me for the symposium. So as we all know, the name of the symposium is Love in Action, which calls into question one of the fundamental debates within the philosophy of love, of what exactly is it? And Dr. Howard did a beautiful job elucidating her definition. I loved it. Thank you very much. And so I will give you some of my thoughts now. That love is not just a feeling or an emotion or a state. It really is an action. It is something you do, or at the very least attempt to. So in this way, as Dr. Howard said, it's not passive. It has to be active. So love, as such, is necessarily engaged and embodied and embedded. And so, in my view, love is a fundamental aspect of intentionality. It's what orients and directs our attention towards what we deem and interpret as meaningful and significant. And I think that this emphasis on love as action is also just to say that it is always applied through practice and praxis. It is that connecting factor between the self and the other and the world. And I think regarding our self, there are typically three aspects that it can be delineated into. So there's the cognitive self, which is like the volitional, it's our actions, it's our behaviors. There is the cognitive aspect of ourself, so that is the intellectual, our beliefs and our thoughts. And then there is the affective self. There is the emotional aspect that constitute our desires and our feelings. So, and I think love is unique in its positionality regarding all of these facets. And that when these aspects of ourself, our thoughts, our feelings, our behaviors, when they are reconciled and integrated and in alignment, then we can be said to be loving appropriately and accordingly, both collectively and individually. I think that regarding love, there is a very strong responsibility and accountability that needs to be placed, involving the interplay between self and other, the private, the public, the personal, the political, as Dr. Howard was saying. It's how we're able to bridge the internal and the external and how they reinforce and are reciprocal. And I think we need to effectively choose to be guided by this sentiment and principle of love in all of our encounters with ourselves, with other humans, with non-human animals, with nature and the environment. I think that love is not just an end, but the very means by which we move towards more. So, following that train of thought, I think love is a constitutive structure of existence, of being, of consciousness, that reconciles our experience of ambiguity, that facticity, and that transcendence. What is determined, what is free, in that it accepts our limits, our capacities, our capabilities, while also acknowledging our potential and our possibilities. So I just did a presentation in Dr. Howard's class on Bell Hooks, who is a Black feminist activist, and her central thesis is that similarly, love is an action, and that it is useful to define what love is so that we can enact it appropriately. And that love is instrumental in realizing our interdependent and interconnected, intersubjective nature. So, bridging so many schools of thoughts from feminist sociology, existentialist philosophy, Eastern philosophy. Yeah, and just that love should challenge us. I think there is a sweet sentiment to the idea that love is unconditionally accepting and gives us that sense of positive regard. But I also think that change and tension play a central role in love as well as hope and progress. Um, so within Bell Hooks's work, she often pulls from figures to elucidate this point of love's relationship to growth and cultivation. So she quotes from Martin Luther King Jr.'s letters from Birmingham jail. I am not afraid of the word tension, which I think is very powerful and beautiful. She also quotes a psychotherapist and philosopher, Eric Fromm. Love is the active concern for the life and growth of that which we love. And then another psychologist, I believe, M. Scott Peck, that love is the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. So I think love highlights that paradox as its commitment to both our own and another's process of becoming and project of being. It's a creative force that enables those endeavors, and it is instrumental in that role of simultaneously dissolving the self into a unity and also expanding it or dilating it so that it encompasses more than itself. Thank you.
Excellent. So proud. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Morgan, for sharing your thoughts. It's amazing how much you already know and understand. I would like to introduce the next speaker, Cameron Whitten, who is somebody that I've come to know and really care about. I met Cameron. He is the founder and director of a group here in Portland called Brown Hope, which is a racial justice organization. And so I first met Cameron last May at a rally he organized called We Are the Bridge, which was in honor of the 5th anniversary of George Floyd's murder. And it's a very powerful event. And since that time, I began volunteering with Brown Hope. And since the beginning of this year, I've been on the board of directors. And love the events, the creative ways that Cameron supports racial justice and healing for all of us around racism. And does a lot of really creative events and is an amazing speaker. So I'm very pleased to introduce you. Cameron, please feel free to unmute and come on and speak with us.
Heather, thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you for inviting me to be here today. Good morning and good evening to everyone here from across the globe. My name is Cameron Whitten. I'm the founder and CEO for racial justice nonprofit Brown Hope. And another shout out to Heather and Benjy, who just a week ago co-hosted a kirtan community meal and fundraiser for Brown Hope called food for the soul, and had over 60 people in the Portland area singing together in the devotional vibrations of love, and also raising funds to help support Brown Hope's mission. And so I'm really grateful to be here today to talk about love in action, because I do feel like we do talk a lot about love in the world, but I do want us to see us talk more about action and what does it mean to have loving action, because I do believe our actions are a language of the universe that will really change the world for the better. And looking at different times in history where we saw a mass movement of bodies and minds and hearts and love taking collective action together, talking both about the civil rights movement, who I know that I have the privileges I have today because of my Black ancestors fighting during the civil rights movement, then also looking at other movements as well, as we heard in India, also South Africa, many great examples of nonviolence, of peace, and of coming together as people. And so it's just my honor to be an activist who has led, nonviolent, peaceful actions. As Heather mentioned, just last year, Brown Hope organized a whole week of action to commemorate the 5-year anniversary of George Floyd's murder. And the week of action was called We Are the Bridge, Riots for Racial Justice. And so the whole imagery of We Are the Bridge actually comes from Portland in the summer of 2020, when in the middle of this global uprising around racial justice, hundreds of thousands, over 100,000 Portlanders came to Burnside Bridge, and they had a die-in, and they laid peacefully on Burnside Bridge to raise attention to both George Floyd's murder, but also the anguish and injustice that Black people face in the United States. And we have made progress since 2020, but as we know, there's been a lot going on in this world, and there's a lot of love that this world needs right now. And so We Are the Bridge was that reminder of the importance of us coming together. And so it's just my honor and privilege to share the poem that I wrote for We Are the Bridge and George Floyd's 5-year anniversary, and it's called A Renaissance of Justice. And I describe this poem as a prayer. As a prayer that all of us open our hearts, open our minds, and really commit to that collective action the world needs today. And so I really feel like the theme of this poem, the intention of this poem, really aligns with love and action. And I thank you for listening. History will tell the story of a humankind, kind of here, but not present, kind of healed, but still hurting, kind of happy, but never whole. History has her eyes upon us. We cannot watch idly by. How I long for the name of our unfolding chapter. What secrets are buried beneath all this pain? A reinvention? No. A revolution? Nah. A remembering? A renaissance? A time of transformation with style, when humankind loses its appetite for the strange fruit of white supremacy, when humankind surrenders our cruel addiction to loneliness, when humankind is exiled from the prisons of silence and shame. How I dream of that courageous day when enough of us proclaim, we will not abandon ourselves. We will not abandon each other. We are bound by a sacred contract of one solution: redemption. This is the medicine, healing the deep ancient wounds of generations, reclaiming the sweet, perfect innocence of our souls, kindling the fuel of our inner forge, blazing into being, a dawn of truth, a rapture of hope, becoming the heroes that we hoped for, building ourselves into titans, towering above and beyond the sunken places of our past, nursing the nightmare into a better story, one that we write and complete in our words, in our time. A renaissance of justice is the palpable confidence of knowing the freedom we feel in our bones, hands and feet thundering forward at a pace of liberation until we find the place of promise. Our long walk casts a long shadow. We leave behind. Our silence turns to song rising skyward with our spirits. History, she is ready to write of a kinder humanity. Awake and aware, mature and still growing, incomplete and very open. History, she is ready to birth a merely beginning future, faring well the nights of injustice, dreaming onward, onward, to the Renaissance within reach. Thank you, thank you. Continue to look forward.
Cameron, thank you so much, my friend. We so appreciate your offering. You're taking the time from what I know is always a very busy schedule. So touching, so straight to the heart. Can't wait to see you again. Oh my gosh. So grateful for your incredible offering and being a part of this.
Hi, I'm Heather Wertheimer. I'm Benjy's wife, and together we are a kirtan duo called Shantala. I'm also a teacher of meditation, a singer and songwriter. And I didn't make this video at the time that we recorded Love in Action because we ran out of time. And so I'm doing it now because I feel that it's very important to talk about the work that I've been doing with a lot of support from Benjy and many, many other people. In 2020, in May, when George Floyd was brutally murdered, it affected me so much as it did so many others around our country. And the same week, a dear old friend of mine was out driving around in her city and somebody shouted racial slurs at her just because of her color, calling her names. And she made a very moving Facebook video about that at the time. And those two events had a huge impact on me. And so when I was in my meditation one day around that time, I started getting these ideas for lyrics to a song. And I wrote the song within a week and called it I Will Stand With You, because it felt so important and continues to feel so important to stand up for racial justice. Benjy and some other wonderful musicians created a recorded version of the song with me. And we released that and used that as a fundraiser for groups who were working for racial justice around the country. And there's a beautiful vocalist in that project with me, Taya Wilson. And Taya was talking to me one day and she said, "Are you going to make a video of this song?" And I said, "No," because I don't like being on film very much. But she talked to me and she said, "Don't you think people need to see us together?" And I really thought about what she said and decided to move forward with creating the song video. And it took a long time to make it. And what happened in my searching about how to create this film was that I was sent to a wonderful consultant for diversity, equity, and inclusion named Aisha Elliott, also known as Black Girl from Eugene. And Aisha was helping to guide me about how to make this film in the way that could have the greatest impact. As I started getting to know Aisha, she told me about her story and that she herself was a survivor of police brutality. When her son was having a mental health crisis, she called the crisis line, and they were closing for the night, and so they sent the police instead without her knowledge. When the police arrived at her home, they assaulted Aisha and her son, even though they did absolutely nothing wrong. And so I invited Aisha to tell her story as part of my film project. And then she said that she felt the best way to do that would be to create a reenactment of what happened to her. So the journey went in a completely unexpected direction, and it ended up being very profound. And all of a sudden, we had a lot of support. Filmmaker Elijah Hassan agreed to film her story, and he later on made the song video. We got a $5,000 grant from our Regional Arts and Culture Council, and we raised even more money in that through a GoFundMe with dozens of people that generously supported the project. And so we have launched both of the films now, and I will share links to those films with you. It feels so important to tell the stories of people's lives and what's happening to them and what they've been through, so that we can learn from the situations that happen and try to make things happen better in the future. So I just wanted to tell you about that, and I'm continuing to work for racial justice, working with Cameron, who you saw earlier in this film, at brownhope.org, and trying to do things in our community to help make the world a better place. So I know that so many of you want to join in making the world better, and that you've seen today a lot of different ways that people want to do that, different things that they're doing. And I trust that you can find through your own heart how it is that you can make a difference. I appreciate you listening to me today, and I think it's been such an honor to have this program go forward. And so thank you very much for being a part of it. Take good care.
At this point, I'd like to introduce our friend who wasn't able to be with us in person but sent a wonderful video, Barbara Becker. She's an interfaith minister and author who has dedicated more than 25 years to partnering with human rights advocates around the world in pursuit of peace and interreligious understanding. She's worked with the United Nations, Human Rights First, the Ms. Foundation for Women, the Grameen Bank of Bangladesh, and as an author, she's incredible. Her book, Heartwood, is a really extraordinary journey. I highly recommend it to you. As Gloria Steinem said about it, in Heartwood, Barbara Becker inspires us to follow our curiosity into a world of love and loss that is both universal and a source of our uniqueness. And what could be better than that?
Hello, my name is Barbara Becker. I am a writer and an ordained interfaith minister living in New York City. The question I wanted to consider with you today is this: what if the stability of world peace depends, at least in part, on enough of us finding peace within ourselves? Over the past several months, so many of us have been transfixed by the group of Buddhist monks who have walked 2,300 miles across 10 states. They weren't protesting or persuading. They carried no signs. They were simply walking slowly and deliberately as a practice of peace. In a time of urgency and outrage, their presence felt almost disorienting. People gathered by the thousands to greet them, putting their hands together, offering flowers, bowing, some crying openly and saying things like, "I feel so much calmer," or "I haven't felt this much hope in such a long time." What these monks reminded us of isn't new. Wandering mendicants have walked all over the world across time. America, too, has seen this kind of witness before. In 1953, in the middle of the Rose Bowl parade in California, an ordinary-seeming woman stepped out of the spectacle and began walking eastward. She was 45. Her hair was graying, her arms were pumping by her sides, and she relinquished her given name, taking up a new one, Peace Pilgrim. The Korean War at the time was raging. Nuclear fear filled the air, and McCarthyism and distrust between neighbors was at its highest. Humanity, she said, stood on a knife's edge between collapse and renewal. Peace Pilgrim believed peace could not be imposed or argued into existence. It had to be lived. So she walked continuously. Many estimate at least 40,000 miles over 28 years. Speaking with everyday people she met along the way about peace in the world, peace in their communities, and most especially where it all begins with peace within ourselves. She neither carried nor accepted money. She rested when given shelter and fasted until given food. And without asking for it, she became the recipient of extraordinary generosity. Her path wasn't easy. She was mocked, arrested, investigated, physically endangered. And the monks, too, have faced hardship along the way. One monk needed his leg amputated after a vehicle hit their caravan. Peace, they all demonstrate, can look like an extraordinary act of courage. What united them was this: peace is not primarily a political achievement. It is a practiced way of being. Violence and fear spread through unsettled minds, and peace spreads the same way, quietly, relationally, through how we respond when we're under pressure. When a man once shouted at the monks through a loudspeaker that they were going to hell, the monk offered him a white flower, shook his hand, listened, and kept walking. Peace Pilgrim 2 was clear. You don't have to walk across the country to practice peace. Do your own thing. Take steps that speak to you. Meditate, pray, bear witness, sing, shovel a neighbor's driveway, or mow their lawn. Act from your highest self. Peace Pilgrim died in 1981 out on the open road in the heart of our country. Near the end of her life, she said, "Live in the present. Do the things that need to be done. Do all the good you can each day. The future will unfold." May we all walk this path of love in action together. Thank you.
I was really grateful that she shared that with us at a time she was very busy, and I'm sure a lot of you followed the monks as well. And now, for a wonderful change of pace, I want to introduce somebody who is truly a hero of mine on at least two levels. Number one, as skillful and gifted a singer and vocal teacher as I've ever met, a really treasured friend who's guided me and Heather in this incredible art of Indian classical singing for over a decade now between us. And also, I would say, is as dedicated an activist as I have ever met, especially in the arena of climate change. And so, without further ado, my dear friend and brother, Warren Senders, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Benjy and Heather. I'm a little confused as to whether, were you going to play the video that I had recorded as part of this segment, or?
That will be coming later, actually.
Okay. All right. Do you want me to just address activism now and we'll get to the music later on?
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes.
All right. Sounds good. I'm Warren Senders. I live outside of Boston. I make my living as a teacher of Hindustani classical music, which I've been studying and actively living in for going on 50 years at this point. My career in music is interlinked with my life in activism, something that I believe very deeply from my training as an ethnomusicologist is that all human societies and cultures have music as a way of conveying their cultural values and their understanding of the universe around them. Very possibly the oldest cultural survival that we have on Earth is a scale that goes sa re ga pa da pa ga re sa. There are Neolithic flutes that have been found in archaeological digs that are carbon dated back to 40,000 years that play that scale. So that scale, melodies in that scale, are part of the oldest cultural survival that we have, except perhaps m for mother. And so when we engage in the world of music, we are also engaging in a very long-term story of our species unfolding and gradual development of wisdom. And activism has to be part of that. The more that we recognize that our species has been on this planet for really a very short span of time, and we've managed to mess things up pretty comprehensively, then it's up to us to develop our wisdom, if for nothing else, than that the music that we have developed over the past 100,000 years of back and forth, of training, of the generosity of individual teachers to individual students, of the generosity of people who open their hearts to one another when they sing together. We owe it to our music, as well as to all of our other dreams and aspirations, to work for a stable government and a stable climate. I've been engaged in the work of climate activism for many years because I realized that all the other forms of activism that we do, activism for social and economic justice, activism for the rights of different kinds of disadvantaged communities, all of that takes place in the theater, on the staging ground, if you will, that our Earth offers us. And right now, the Earth is on fire. And it's the reason for the fire is that we discovered, first a few thousand years ago, but more powerfully a couple of hundred years ago, that the concentrated sunlight that had fallen on the Earth hundreds of millions of years ago could be burned, and it would yield enormous amounts of energy. I just want to point out, on the moral dimension, if you agree that slavery is a misappropriation of human energy, an illegal appropriation of human energy, then fossil fuels are an illegal and immoral appropriation of ancient energy, of the energy that fell on our planet hundreds of millions of years ago. It's our unique shared environmental heritage, and we're burning it up in order to keep our office buildings illuminated when we're not there, to keep our cars idling while we run into Starbucks for coffee, and to support AI data centers and a burgeoning trash culture that's dedicated to the idea that everyone on Earth will be famous for 15 seconds. Long-term thinking, the kind of long-term thinking that I was led into through my study of music and my study of cultural transmission, is at the heart of an understanding of climate change and what we have to do to work against it. I used to have a bumper sticker on my car before that car finally had to go to the shop. Most of you have probably seen the sticker that says, "Think globally, act locally." I have a sticker on my car that says, "Think in eons, act now." Peace out.
This was beautiful, Warren. It's just so simple, but such a important message for today's world. And thank you. When we were organizing this, and Benjy and Heather, we talked about bringing young people, their voices, because future belongs to them. And I always do symposium, always bring my students as a part of it. Not we adults talk, that's fine, but so now the next person who will be the speaker is my, again, student, Aidan Patterson. He's also in my seminar class, Philosophy and Healing. His presentation was brilliant, the one he gave a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks ago. And the way he connected with various, very interdisciplinary, I was in awe to see that how these young people can be can teach you. I mean, a lot. I learned a lot from you. So Aidan is also double majoring in philosophy and psychology. So Aidan, you are next up. So welcome.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. Um, I'm really glad that Morgan, my peer in the class, brought up the notion of love and what it really means to love and action, because one of the things that I think we neglect is this idea of constructive criticism, which is a fundamental aspect of love. Um, I imagined in going into this conference about love coming before power, love coming before domination. And when I imagine all of the times that people in America prioritized that love over power, I saw a few people acting in that service to love, mostly to a public that doesn't serve them back. So I wanted to look at three civil rights leaders who went to show that love wasn't a matter of anything but compassion. Um, Really, my influence comes from the Black American author James Baldwin, who was a civil rights leader in the 60s. Uh, his most famous quote is, "I love America more than any other country in the world, and exactly for this reason, I insist on the right to criticize her perpetually." Baldwin was a civil rights leader of the 60s, as I mentioned, and he considered criticism and correction as the greatest act of love one could offer. He authored dozens of essays and articles, and he was penned as a great lover of America, but he was also one of her fiercest critics. As a result of this, and as a testament to how unwelcome the criticism was, he was put under constant surveillance by his own country. And despite the decades of distrust by his own government, Baldwin kept criticizing. Baldwin kept trying to improve the nation that he loved. Another example of this that I think about quite frequently is Sojourner Truth, somebody who doesn't come up in public discourse as much, civil rights activist of the 1800s, almost 150 years ago now. Truth was no stranger to adversity. She was actually painfully acquainted with it. She was born into American slavery, and she saw the love of her life get beaten within inches of his death. And by providence, by pure chance, found herself at the Women's Convention of 1851. These conventions were primarily to provide white women the possibility of voting one day, because they didn't start out by looking at Black Americans fondly. And Sojourner Truth was the only Black speaker, and she delivered what is now the most famous speech from that entire convention, entitled "Ain't I a Woman," which became an anthem for the criticism of how America treated its Black women. And in this act of service, this act of love, she became immortalized. Um, and as one last example, uh, what personal hero of mine that I reflect on even more is Fred Hampton, a civil rights leader in the 60s. Fred Hampton was, by all means, he was a revolutionary. By all means, he was a martyr for social change. He spent all of his life in Illinois and dedicated his life to its service in more ways than one. He was an active critic in the way that lower class people were treated in America, and he foresaw that gang warfare would keep the lower class in perpetual poverty. And he created a coalition for peace between the gangs of Chicago, which had never been seen before in America's cities. And he created social welfare programs for the people of Chicago that, again, had never been seen before by someone of his stature. He was 21 years old when he did this. It was incredible. Another thing that he said, which I love, is, why don't you live for the people? Why don't you struggle for the people? Why don't you die for the people? And unfortunately, Hampton would be doing exactly that. At 5 in the morning on December 4th, 1969, he was shot and killed in his sleep by county officers because the FBI said that he was too good at uniting people and he was too good at being seen as a peace figure. Fred Hampton died and is remembered to this day as a profound and active lover of Chicago and its people. It's particularly through these examples that I can stay confident that putting my love in action and prioritizing service over power is exactly what I'd like to do with my life. The beautiful work of art I saw very recently, beautifully orchestrated by Wes Anderson. Uh, he said that there are still faint glimmers of civilization in this barbaric slaughterhouse that was once known as humanity. Perhaps it is truly through putting our love in action that in our own small contributions to these corners of the world that we can create a more beautiful world and a more loving world. Um, and I think that love is the most important principle that I would say the universe runs in, and I think it's time we ought to reflect that.
Wow, thank you, Aidan. Very uplifting, very moving. Appreciate it. And now, one speaker, Professor Christopher Chapple, was supposed to be here, but he wasn't able to come, so he sent a short video. He has been my colleague for over 2 decades and a mentor, friend. So I'm just going to read a couple of lines of his bio. If you want to look up online, his bio is pages long. Very accomplished, distinguished professor or author. He is a Doshi professor of Indic and Comparative Theology and founding director of the Masters of Arts in Yoga Studies at Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles. A specialist in the religions of India, he has published more than 20 books and many, many, many articles, including the recent book, Living Landscapes, Meditations on the Elements in Hindu, Buddhist, and Jain Yogas by SUNY Press. So we'll play a short video by him. Thank you.
Greetings. My name is Christopher Chapple, and I'm Doshi Professor of Indic and Comparative Theology at Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles and Director of the Master of Arts in Yoga Studies at that institution. And I'm really quite honored and thrilled to be invited to give a few words for this important talk on love in action. And what I would like to lift up are some words from the Bhagavad Gita, words deeply cherished by Mahatma Gandhi, as he found within himself the resource of love designed to bring uplift, sarvodaya, to the entire world. Gandhi was humiliated, thrown off a train, and left stammering, "Why do these people treat me this way?" He had been thrown off the train because of the color of his skin. And as we've heard, love is greater than hate. And how could he find the strength to respond to adversity with love rather than with hate? And in the words of the Bhagavad Gita, words spoken from one cousin, Krishna, to another cousin, Arjuna, these words urge a person to remain calm in the face of adversity. And I'll read some of this translation where Arjuna asks, how can the person of steady wisdom be described? That one established in deep meditation. How does the person of steady vision speak? How does such a one sit or even move? And Krishna responds, when a person leaves behind all desires that arise in the mind, Arjuna, and is content in the self, with the self, that is said to be steady in wisdom. The person who is not agitated by suffering, whose yearning for pleasures have evaporated, those for whom passion, fear, and anger have evaporated, such a one becomes steady in vision. Now Gandhi took this teaching and workshopped it with the many people who participated in his salt marches and created a template for bearing witness, without slogans, without signs, without outward disturbance, but invites people simply to stand up and walk. And when James Lawson, some years ago, traveled to India to learn these techniques from the Gandhians and brought those techniques back to the South, to Nashville, and then down to Selma, he said, "Love those who hate you. Learn to find that ability not to lash back." Some lost their lives, and change came to be. Love in action requires patience. Love in action requires self-examination. The dissolving of that boundary between self and other presents perhaps the greatest challenge of all. The dissolving of that boundary that separates one person from another is perhaps the greatest challenge of all, a true riddle. And in moments of adversity, somehow we can find the strength and the wisdom offered that says, back away from your anger. Anger generates delusion. From delusion, mindfulness wanders. From wandering mindfulness arises the loss of one's intelligence and reason. And from the loss of intelligence, one perishes. So I invite us all, this beautiful morning of celebration and song, to take a moment to go into our own place of peace, and from that moment of peace, resolve to rise up singing, perhaps a silent singing that celebrates the very possibility of love in action. Thank you.
So grateful that Chris Chapple could join us like that. Yeah, thank you so much for inviting him and bringing him into this conference. We're very happy about it. Like Chris, there were a number of people who weren't able to be here in person today, but I put together a montage of some messages and clips from them about love in action and what it means to them that we'd like to share now. We have some really incredible friends who have offered their love to us today through these videos. So I'm going to ask Heather to go ahead and play those for us now.
When I think of the phrase love in action, I think about the essential teachings of Bhakti Yoga, which teach that in essence, in heart, we are born to give, born to serve, born to be of use to others, and ultimately connecting all of that service as an offering to the divine. It's a meditation, and I find that it helps to have a practice of reflecting on this every day, even multiple times a day, as a way of really embedding this meditation in a consciousness so it becomes a little bit more natural and fluid, coming into play in any situation that may arise.
Chanting brings clarity to the mind and compassion to the heart. The mantras we chant align us with the elements and cosmic forces that make up the natural order of our home, on planet Earth. The earth is a bodhisattva we can take refuge in, not only outside of us, but within us. We can breathe naturally with the earth, and by chanting in community, we realize our interconnectedness with each other as humans and with the complex universal family of all beings and with our own true nature. Preserving the wilderness of our planet is the offering that we can make through prayer and loving activism with reverence, wisdom, and compassion. We are nature. We are all one. Jai Sita Ram.
Hanuman is the flow of love that connects us to all beings. It's the love that lives within us. It's who we already are. There are many types of actions, inner actions, outer actions, but they all have to be based on finding that real love that lives within us. So all our practices are aimed at that. And finally, like Maharaji said, the same blood runs through every vein, all the veins, all the same. It's in the blood, he said, it's in the blood. One being, all of us one being. So to know that, to really know that, that's the real love.
Parigagare more dur kai chal Parigagare more dur kai chal.
My name is Warren Senders. I'm a music teacher, a Hindustani singer, and a climate activist. And every day for the past 10, now going on 11 years, every weekday I go out to the roadside here at this intersection by my house and I hold signs about climate change because I believe that alerting people and forcing the conversation on climate change is an act of love for the planet, plus which I take my time out here on the roadside and I do my singing practice, because music is how human beings communicate across centuries and millennia. That's what we do. That's who we are. Peace out.
Love in Action. I'm going to read you a little bit from my book, Al, that Benjy has contributed in the audiobook with some beautiful pieces of music to help facilitate that. But this is what I've learned about love. I've learned that love is all that really matters. We are all simply learning to give and receive love unconditionally. My life and its experiences have been that journey, and I deeply wish that you learn love, first of all, for yourself, then of others, and then of life itself. It's your true nature.
Namaskar friends, this is Alam Khan, and I'm really happy to be speaking about love in action, invited by my dear friends Benjy and Heather, inspired by their new song, Kara Bhajo. My late father, the maestro of the sarod, the instrument that I play, Ali Akbar Khan, to me, his sound on this instrument and what he taught to me was the sound of unconditional love. And what my father and grandfather believed was that when we're playing the music, it's almost like a prayer in a way. The music is coming from the cosmos, from nature, God, whatever you want to call it, whatever that energy is, that frequency. And we're channeling that and it's coming through the instrument. the sound of unconditional love. So for me, putting love into action is every time I play my instrument. I'm putting that into the universe. I'm playing for the audience members, hoping to give them some healing, some peace, some solace, and share the sound of unconditional love in action through my instrument that was taught by my father. So thanks for listening.
I am learning from my spiritual teacher Ram Dass and through the grace of my guru Neem Karoli Baba that I am loving awareness, or love itself. For me, in order to bring that love out into the world, I've been able to utilize my skills as a physician to go out and offer selfless service in the form of medical camps around the world. Neem Karoli Baba has taught us to bring love into the world through selfless service, following the example of Lord Hanuman through the lineage of love and bhakti yoga. And for me, this is a way to honor the love that lives within us.
Hi, I'm Lily Hayden from Opium, and we're so honored and delighted to be part of Kara Bhajo with Heather and Benjy and Uttal. Love in action for me is playing and singing every note with my purest heart, giving it every drop of presence and gratitude that I have ever felt. Being completely present, listening to you, feeling the vibration in the room, and connecting with sound. That is love in action for me. I'm so grateful to make sounds with Shantala and to connect and give you everything I have. Much love.
Hi, I'm Itai from Opium, and we are so delighted to be with our good friends Benjy and Heather, Shantala, and Uttal on Kara Bhajo. This deep song calls us to love in action. And when I think of love in action, I think about the ability we have to walk into any given situation and lead with love. The same way I can change a given chord by using a bass note is the same way we can change any interaction by walking to it with our love. Sounds simple, and I think it actually really is simple. Thank you for listening, and thank you for this offering of this wonderful song. Please play it and share it.
So we're approaching the closing part of our program today, and as was mentioned by Itai and our friends who joined us on that, what started all of this for me as an impetus to share love in action in whatever ways I can, which I always hope to do with my music and in whatever small ways I can day to day. I again want to thank and honor Warren Senders for teaching this bhajan from his teacher, Pandit Devasthali. And I'd like Warren to invite you on again to say just a few words about this brilliant polymath and his influence on you as a teacher, the music, and then it will be the world premiere of the music video for Kara Bhajo, which was released on January 1st of this year, which happened to be Devasthaliji's birthday as well. So anyway, Warrenji, please come back on.
Thank you so much, Benjy and Heather, and thank you to everybody for being part of this. I went to India in the mid-1980s, originally to learn with an extremely famous singer, and I got there and was swept up in all of the drama of being part of the entourage of a famous person, and very rapidly found out that I wasn't going to be taught any music by the famous person, and that I really needed to be putting my time and energy elsewhere. And it was almost a year later that Rajiv Devasthali, whom I'd been practicing with, he's a fine tabla player, said, "Warren, I've told my father about you," because I was going around looking for people to study with and not getting any traction anywhere. He said, "I've told my father about you, and he said he'll teach you." And at that point, I didn't know anything about his father. But I said, sure, because I liked Rajiv, and I was ready to go anywhere. And so I went to the Devasthali family home. This was in early 1986. And Mr. Devasthali, for such was what we called him at that time, I recognized him. I'd seen him at concerts. He was a big fat man with a beard, and I always like big fat guys with beards. And so I got a good strong vibe with him. And he asked me about what I'd learned thus far and what I hoped to do. And I said I wish to sing in the mehfil, in the house concert format. That's the traditional way that Hindustani music is presented. And that answer pleased him a lot, because I wasn't interested in being famous. For me, the mehfil is an expression of community co-creation, where the listeners come together to encourage a singer to channel her or his history and tradition and wisdom and turn it into something that's shared by everyone in the room. And he recognized that, and he began teaching me in daily 4-hour lessons. On Guru Purnima, when traditionally it's the appropriate thing to do is to offer the teacher some gifts of fruit and cloth and a nominal amount of money, he angrily refused to take any money. He's saying, "It is my dharma to teach you. In my tradition, if I don't teach everything that I know before I die, I cannot achieve release." And so he, for the longest time, taught me and refused payment. It wasn't until after the BCCI banking scandal in India in 1991, and he lost his life savings. And at that point I said, "Guruji, we're going to start paying you for lessons. You have to start accepting it." And he kind of grumblingly agreed. One day I asked him, actually I'm going to tell two quick stories. The first one, he asked me why, he said, why do you keep doing Western music? Why do you do jazz and all these things? Isn't Indian music enough? And I said, "Guruji, you speak many languages." Because he spoke, I think, 11 Indian languages and English. And he said, "Yes." I said, "Don't you find it the case that you can have ideas that are very easy to express in one language, but which are extremely difficult to convey in another?" And he said, "Absolutely." I said, "It is the same in music. I have ideas which can be expressed in Hindustani music and are poorly expressed in the language of jazz. And I have ideas that are beautifully expressed in the language of jazz, but which cannot be expressed in the language of Hindustani music." And again, to his credit, he said, "That makes perfect sense. Thank you for explaining that." And anyone who's had experience with traditional Indian pedagogues knows that that is not necessarily the response that you can anticipate. The second question-answer exchange that I had with him, I am not a religious person. I was raised by scientists and understanding a scientific materialist understanding of the universe. And at one point, he was teaching me some devotional songs. And I said, "Guruji, I'm not a believer. I'm an atheist. What is the way for me to proceed with this?" He said, if I teach you a song and it's in praise of Ram or in praise of Krishna or in praise of Allah or in praise of any deity, you, in your mind, you let that name stand for whatever it is that you find central and important that gives your life meaning. So they're just words. They just provide a connection for you to say what you mean. And so when he taught me this composition, Om Kara Bhajo, it struck me at the time that it was an expression of his own understanding of the correct way to proceed in the world, which was one in which the individual trappings of your relationship with the universe matter less than whether you show up every day and do the work.
Beautifully said, Warren. Thank you so much. And again, endless thanks to you for this composition. In the video that's coming, you'll see captions that have the translation. It's written in Hindi. I imagine many of you are not necessarily fluent in Hindi, but I hope you really enjoy this. And again, Warren, thanks so much for your eloquence, your guidance, and all of you so much for being here. At the end of the video, we'll just say a quick goodbye to one another. And again, thank all of you who have been here today. It means the world to me that we've been able to gather like this.
Shri Ram Kahu, Shri Krishna Kahu, Bole se kabhi na purai karu, Zarathustra kahu, दुनिया में सबसे प्यार करो अल्लाह कहूँ हाशिम भी कहूँ परजाति धर्म झगड़ा करो कर बाजो अभिमानता Jobai, Pachataavo nahi, Jobai, Sobai, Pachataavo nahi, Jobai, Sobai. Avicharaniti tajo manase namagana rahu madayovanami upakara karutana maladanasi iti nivaya bida kai sugai Om Kara Bhajo Abhiman Tajo Om Kara Bhajo Abhiman Tajo Om Kara Bhajo Abhiman Tajo Om Kara Bhajo Pachataavo nahi, Jobai, Sobai. Pachataavo nahi, Jobai, Sobai. Pachataavo nahi, Jobai, Sobai. Pachataavo nahi, Jobai, Sobai. Abhiman Tajo
Oh, thank you all so very, very, very much for being here. I'm sorry, I'm kind of tearing up a bit. It means so much to have the opportunity to share this with you. And in these times, it feels so important to show up with every ounce of our love that we can, our intention, moving that compassion into meaningful action. And I love what everyone shared about that process, about that potentiality that is truly limitless when we focus ourselves on it. So many thanks to all of you. And I think at this point, we're going to call it a wrap and just offer our love to the world in whatever ways we can. We have a lot of work ahead of us. To all the presenters, thank you so much for taking the time and pouring your heart and your effort into this. There really are no words that could adequately describe how much it means to me, and I know to Heather. And I look forward to seeing you down the path. Let's stay in touch with each other. Our hope is to share the recording of this video so that people who couldn't join us today in real time will also be able to enjoy the fruits of the brilliance that each of you offered in your own way. Thank you again so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
I can
Thank
hear you
you.
now, Mangesh. Great. Okay, wonderful.
Yes, really, you all are doing such a wonderful work because you are real action of love, because you're trying to get the love together, and that's what I feel like for Maher, for everyone here who is doing such a good work for the world. It's not the individual, it's we, not I. So thank you so much for giving us chance and share
Collective
about
love
Maher.
for the world.
So much love to you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We'll stay in touch. For people who are attending, we're going to be sending up a follow-up email afterwards. And stay tuned. We're going to continue to do more. And may you be safe, at ease of heart, healthy, and fulfilled in your lives. Thank you.
Thank you.